Hi, folks. This is Rick Doc Walker, the DOC.
This is John Kime, and you're listening to The Mess Hall with Rally Captain and Tailgate Ted.
What's going on, Rally? How you doing, man?
I'm doing good, man. Can you believe that we are almost done with March? I mean, it's hard to believe, man. March is pretty much done.
It is crazy, man. I feel like football season is going to be here before we know it, and it just ended. It seems like this time is flying by, and I'm not complaining, but I do enjoy my summertime, so I'm hoping it starts slowing down here in a little bit.
Slow it down just a little bit.
Yeah, speaking of football season, you actually got out to Fedex Field last week, and you mentioned it on the show that you were going to hang out at the Sportsbook. So I'm curious, man, how was it first being back at FedEx? And then how was it actually being at that new Sportsbook? Because I still haven't stepped foot inside that place yet.
Well, she still needs a facelift, but hey, you know what? We can put a little rouge and a little bit of lipstick on it, and she'll be all right. She'll pass. How about that? But the Sportsbook, let me tell you, man, it's nice. They've got 21 betting machines, a lot of big screen TVs. You can cash out right there. The food on the menu is good, whether it's from salad to chicken wraps to chili dogs. I mean, they've got a pretty good menu, and the food's pretty good. It really is. Everyone there that came out last Friday was surprised how good the food was, and actually the drinks as well.
To me, it's hard to mess up a drink, but if you can actually get the food right, and those wondering, go back to one of our pods originally when this first thing came out, we talked about the menu options and things like that at the Fanatics Sportsbook compared to some of the other spots. Because on Thursday last week, I went to Guy Fieri's to watch a bunch of the NCAA games. I do it every Thursday of March Madness, and that had a blast. Had about 100 people out doing my thing, and I know you had a good turnout for yours. So I was just curious, like you've been to Guys. Like, is there some stuff that you would compare and contrast between the two spots? Some stuff that you think that, Fanatics does it better over there, or you think it's maybe kind of on par?
It's a little bit smaller than Guy Fieri's. Well, I take that back. It's larger for the downstairs, but the upstairs, the Guy Fieri's is larger.
Is it two floors or one floor at FedEx?
It's one floor. Okay. Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Guy Fieri's is two. The actual
You got the second spot upstairs.
Gotcha. Right. So I'd say that's a little bit bigger because it's two floors. But man, everything, the setup is nice. I mean, there's not a bad seat in the house. And you know how people come around the drive really fast. They have security guards who will stop the cars, allow you to get across the street. There's security who comes in, they check you out, make sure you, just like going to a game almost, empty your pockets, make sure you don't have any paraphernalia or whatever have you.
It's fine by me.
Any illegal items, contraband. And once you get inside, man, hey, it's like a party atmosphere. They had a DJ last week. And
really?
They had a DJ last week. And from 93.9, I can't think of the guy's name, but we're going to be doing it again Saturday. So 6 to 10, if anybody's interested, 6 to 10 at the Sportsbook, come out and see it and enjoy yourself. I did talk to them about possibly doing what we talked about on a prior pod about as far as having discounts on the back of the receipts.
For the store.
So So once you place your bet at the kiosk, you print out a receipt, and if you don't win, you can take that receipt and go get you something from FedEx. They're talking about it since it is Fanatics. So they're very happy with the ideas that we talked about, and so I think it's going to be a win-win, man. I really do.
I hope so. I mean, I'm not boycotting the place. I just haven't had a need to go out to FedEx, and the times I've been there, it's been more so for meetings than actual pleasure. Mrs. T and I do have to go out to pick up some new gear. We're headed out of town coming up and got to film a TV show and got to get some new gear to represent. So
Yeah.
might stop on in and check out the Sportsbook when I'm there. And I'm trying to avoid betting right now because I made some money on that Maryland game last week, and then UVA let me down, even though, I and a bunch of other people probably had them going farther in our brackets. They let me down losing that game, but selfishly I was also happy that they lost, but I thought it'd be a no-brainer that they were actually going to pull that thing off. But so you're going to be out there this Saturday. I mean, for those that are in the DMV, head on out to Fedex and check that out. The nice thing is there's a ton of parking out there, and that's one thing they got over guys, because there's no parking at guys. That's free, at least. You got to go downtown, park in a garage, or take a metro. So the fact that you can just roll right up, it'd be nice if you could tailgate and then go inside, but they don't let you do that unless it's football season.
Unless it's football, bro. See, you pushing the envelope a little bit too much. I mean, I know your name's Tailgate Ted, but you got to be able to pull it back, slow down, slow your roll.
They got chicken wraps inside. I mean, I'm gonna pass on that salad that you talked about, but they got some chicken wraps. We'll see how it goes. But you place any bets? How'd your night go betting wise? Okay.
Purdue. Yeah, everybody that placed the bet on Purdue, they won, and it's exciting to be able to win in person and walk right around the corner and cash out and get your money.
Yeah, and actually get cash. I mean, I've been, we've been betting on our phones forever. But it's like fake money, even though it hurts still. But it was nice actually walking up and then handing him that ticket. And the next thing you know, he's just counting out bills and bills and bills for you, depending on how much you threw down. So
I was gonna say, you're telling on yourself, brother. Bills and bills.
Yeah, I ended up losing a little bit after the fact. But the one thing I did enjoy being at the book for the NCAA games was the live betting. And I know you can live bet from your cell phone, but being able to live bet in person and then walk up, it's a more fun environment being around all those people watching the game, because I'm not a college basketball fan. I watch during March Madness. I don't watch.
Same with me.
Other than like occasionally Maryland games here and there, or I'll go to a Georgetown game because I supersized my combo meal and they gave me tickets or something. But, it's just not something that I'm really into until this time of year happens. So to be able to watch with a bunch of other people and actually have like a horse in the race, if you will, it just makes it a more fun experience.
Good food, good conversation, great atmosphere. I mean, you can't beat it, man.
And if any of our listeners want to go out there, how can they get a hold of you to meet them out there on Saturday?
All they have to do is they can DM me. For pretty much is the easiest thing to do, whether it's on Twitter at Rally Captain or Instagram Rally_Captain, or if you even on Facebook, Rally Captain fan page, and DM me and let me know how many people you want to bring, and that way I can add you guys to the list and we good to go.
That's nice. And if anyone makes it out there, send some pictures and let me know how the food is, because I trust Rally's taste on the food, but I also know my man is super positive. So I need to hear from some of our listeners how that food is.
Wow.
That's what matters to me, is that grub, because I can place the bet anywhere. I just need to know if my tummy's going to get full going out there.
It's going to get full. You'll like the food.
I will. I'm sure I will. I've never turned down some good food that actually isn't overly priced. But what I'm hoping is, maybe some of these new owners, because we've got some new ownership news, might help improve some of the food inside the actual stadium. Because the latest on the sale is Magic Johnson joined the Josh Harris and Mitchell Rails group as a part of that team. So Magic is now a part of that team that's bidding on the Commanders. And I'm not surprised, because if anyone did their research, Josh Harris had Magic on his team when he put in a bid for the Denver Broncos. So it's, definitely not alarming knowing that Magic tried to be a part of the Broncos ownership team. And next thing you know, the Walmart owners came in and overbid everybody. But the thing that is surprising that also came out today, another owner potentially came out, and I'm going to butcher this guy's name, Steve Apostolopoulos. Don't ask me to say it again. Yeah, I mean
Apostolopoulos. Yeah.
You ever see that Vegas Vacation movie with
which one?
Chevy Chase? Vegas Vacation. The one where they actually go to Vegas. and his son has a fake ID and it says Nick Papagiorgio. That's what I basically hear whenever I hear Steve's name.
Papagiorgio.
Yeah, because I can't pronounce Apostolopoulos, so I'm just going to call him Steve Papagiorgio, and we'll see what happens. Hopefully he doesn't buy the team and hear this, because he'll get pissed off and probably take some of my privileges away. But Adam Schefter reported earlier today that he toured the facility. Steve is the founder of a private equity venture fund from Canada, and he's the managing partner of a Toronto-based commercial real estate firm. So he toured the facility a couple of weeks back. We know that Josh Harris toured the facility, and I believe Tillman Furtada toured the facility, and a fourth person toured the facility, but that person is still nameless at this time. So I'm waiting to see who that's going to be and whenever that comes out. But, you know, no idea if this guy's got enough cash, no idea how serious his bid is or what's going on, but hopefully we're getting closer. And if I had $1 for every text message I got over this past weekend, I might be touring the facility saying, I'm going to put a bid on this team.
It was crazy.
You hit me up. A bunch of other people sent me a couple messages back and forth. My DMs were blowing up. And if you're listening to this podcast, you know what I'm talking about. Twitter went crazy about saying Josh Harris just bought the Commanders. Yeah. And I got a screenshot.
Details haven't come out yet, but he bought it. Just stay tuned. I'm like, no, I'm not. That would make every news outlet, and it was nowhere. So when that happens, you got to just slow your roll and just take it a step back.
It was cracking me up, because I firmly believe that it's going to be Josh Harris. That group is going to be the one that's going to get the team, based upon the fact that he brought Rails in. You know, Magic is joining him. He brings some credibility from that standpoint. The NFL is not shy about wanting to have minority owners, so that's another notch in their cap. And the fact that those guys combined have more money potentially now to, I guess, hold off a bid from Bezos, because we know Snyder doesn't want to, do that. But some of the, I guess, Twitter profiles that were sending this information out, and I'm looking at one right now, and no offense to these guys, I don't know who they are. It could be some guy sitting in his mom's basement or some legit guy, but he's got 978 followers, right? My cat has more followers than this guy. And yeah, I started an Instagram and a Twitter for my cat. I'm that guy.
Wow.
But he's got a blue check mark, and people not clicking on the guy's actual name don't notice that he's paying for his check mark. And that's not to say that Joe Blows like you and me can't break news, but the fact that this guy at that point and a couple other no-name people were yelling and screaming up and down about Josh Harris, this and that, it's like, come on, guys, really? Like, hey, if it does happen, nothing is finalized. And we had AJ Perez talking about it. It still has to get ratified by 24 of the NFL owners. So until that happens, I'm not going to pop any champagne or go streaking down the streets of Northwest. And that's just, I'm going to wait for the actual final sale to happen. But the bad news is, according to Albert Breer and John Keim and a bunch of legitimate reporters that I trust and respect, there is no vote scheduled for next week's NFL owners meeting. I know that's going to piss a lot of people off.
Yeah, that sucks. It really does. And we're hoping each day that something happens, and here we are. We have been, man.
We've really been, waiting to see, because all signs are pointing that this is going to happen. And the earliest that it could potentially have happened for a vote would have been next week, naturally. And everything I'm seeing out there from all of these different beat reporters that I trust saying, unless something drastically changes over the next 72 hours, nothing is going to happen next week at the owners meeting. The next meeting after that is not until May. May 22nd is the spring league meeting where the owners get together. So those of our listeners that don't get in the weeds of all this, the NFL owners meet once a quarter. After that spring meeting, their next meeting is not until October.
Gee.
But
well, let me ask you this. And then what needs to actually happen? Does a guy need to come in and say, hey, I've got $6 billion. I got a $6 billion check right here. Let's go ahead and make this vote. Or what type of vetting needs to actually be done? Because for when the owners do meet.
So basically, Bank of America is handling the entire process, and they're going to present a proposal to Dan. And they're going to say, okay, this ownership group at that point in time, whether it's, Steve Papadopoulos or whether it's Josh Harris and Mitch Rails or Tillman Fertitta, say, this guy's offering you this amount of money. These are when all the final bids are due. This is the final bid. Here you go. Which one do you want to go with? Dan's going to choose who he wants, and it's probably going to be leaked out who Dan wants. But he then has to take that to the NFL owners for a vote. So it's up to them at that point in time for the NFL owners to say, yeah, we're good with it, or no, we're not. Okay. And he doesn't have to go to the highest bidder. He can go with whoever he wants to because he owns the team. The NFL owners could deny the actual bid and say, no, we don't want to do that to happen. And that's actually what happened originally when Dan Snyder tried to buy the Redskins. His initial sale group got shot down, and he came back again and bid again, and then ended up winning the team. So it wouldn't be the first time that the owners didn't agree. Now, just because they don't have a meeting scheduled until October after the May meetings doesn't mean that nothing's going to happen. So when the Broncos went up for sale last year, they didn't get any of the votes done during the NFL owners meetings. They actually called a special meeting in August. They had all the owners fly to the special meeting, and then they voted on it then. So don't hold out hope and just get all upset if it doesn't happen during these scheduled meetings that we've got going on, because they could also call something special at any time.
Right. And I guess what they also could do is, instead of meeting in person, they could do a Zoom call. I mean, you don't necessarily have to be in person.
You don't have to be in person. And that's been brought up on a couple of other radio programs, podcasts. I see something like this where they want to make sure all their I's are dotted and T's are crossed. They want all these people in place because of how litigious certain people are in regards to the sale of this team. I can just see them wanting to have everyone there. And we all know Dan's got 2 private jets, and everyone else does too. So, they just send up the, NFL bat signal and say, everybody rally here. Let's get together and let's get this thing over with. And for the fan base's sake, I hope it happens before the season starts. And there was an article that came out from The Athletic, Ben Standing from The Athletic, sent out this past weekend. And if you guys haven't seen it, go check it out, that the Commanders have put a clause in players' contracts. So Deron Payne's contract, all these new guys that are coming on board, they put a clause in their contract delaying signing bonuses until May 12th. So this means Dan is not paying out those signing bonuses until May 12th, or whoever owns the team May 12th is going to be responsible for those big signing bonuses. So
it will behoove him to get it done before May. Okay.
Exactly.
It's kind of like a hard deadline right there. Okay.
I'm thinking that's a deadline that he kind of set up and organized because he doesn't want to pay out these signing bonuses. He's not going to own the team. So why throw that money in when he's not going to get it back, even though he's going to get billions, but he's not going to get any value out of doing these signing bonuses.
Well, I gotta have fuel for my yacht.
He's got to do something. He probably can't get any more lines of credit. So, we've got to figure out what's going on. But for those fans that are worried that this might not be, or it's getting, kicked down the road too long, to me, May 12th is kind of that circle I'm putting on my calendar, crossing my fingers that thing is going to get taken care of by then. And then the owners will vote and we just kind of go from there.
Yeah.
But I think it's happening this season, this spring, if you will. And then we go into training camp, OTAs, everything with a new owner. And hey, maybe it is the guy from Canada, and maybe I'm serving poutine at every tailgate coming up this year.
Not
But
poutine.
Americans don't know what that is, man. It's gravy on top of fries, and it just makes it better. Have you actually?
Well,
I want to ask you: have you been to Toronto for a Bills game? Did you ever go out there for a game?
yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Because I saw that Michael Phillips put a tweet out of London Fletcher on our side going up against Ryan Fitzpatrick in Toronto.
Mhm.
So it just made me wonder if you'd actually been out there for a game.
Yeah. Well, see, when we played the Bills, myself and Rodney Johnson, we drove his truck across the border.
You gotta be kidding. You drove that thing all the way up there.
It wasn't that far.
That's
Well,
not close,
okay.
man.
Wait. Okay, let me time out. Rodney drove his truck from here to Buffalo. I flew. I'm spoiled. If it's 4 hours or more, I'll fly. Now, if it's one of my bus trips to Carolina or to Philly or New York, of course I'll drive. But 3.5 to 4 hours is my limit, bro.
I hear you.
So yeah. But then we drove from Buffalo up to Canada, and we had a good time, man. It was a good trip.
It sounds like I want to get out there for a game, and just all the international games. I'm curious. I had a blast in London. We talked about what
Mhm.
happened with Germany last year, everything else. It'd be nice to go to, Mexico for a game. But yeah, it'll be interesting. And, who knows who that fourth bidder is and when that's going to get revealed. But I just thought it was kind of funny that Michael Phillips put that out there. But when I saw this news come out, man, I thought of you. So Cam Sims no longer here. He ended
Yeah.
up going to Vegas to be reunited with Scott Turner. You good?
Mhm.
You okay? Because
Yeah, bro.
you had
I mean,
Cam Sims having a breakout year last year.
well, see, that's before I realized that they weren't going to utilize the kid. I mean, he can only do so much, and I'm not sure if they weren't seeing it in practice or whatever the case may be, or it could be the fact that we brought in some more talent that just outplayed him for the position. I honestly hope that he goes to Vegas and he balls out, man. I really do. He's got the intangibles. It's just a matter of getting him the ball. I will say that he isn't the fastest guy, and in this league, speed matters. So
Yeah.
I just know that Cam had a lot of potential, and that's what I saw the upside, and it was just a matter of just getting him more playing time. But he almost turned into basically a great special team guy, and I think they kind of put him by the wayside to play special teams.
Yeah. And he
It
did do a
happens.
good job on special teams. He
Yeah.
played 33% of snaps last
Mhm.
year. To me, there's a stigma in the NFL with some teams and some coaching staffs. If you're not drafted, you're looked down upon and you're not treated well, depending on, draft status. Cam was undrafted. In his 5-year career, he had 57 catches, 804 yards, and 3 touchdowns. And whether it's a combination of him not balling out at practice because we're not there. Yeah, we got to see training camp and he had some highlight catches. But there's a portion of practice that we all can't see and the media can't see. Who knows how he did during play installation and things like that. But I also think that guys like Cam aren't given a fair shot at times. Like the time of Joe Jacoby being an undrafted tackle coming to the Redskins and balling out and winning Super Bowls, that just doesn't happen anymore. So guys that slip through the draft for whatever reason, they've got to work 200% versus the guy that was drafted in the 3rd round, like De'Ami Brown, who's still hanging on tooth and nail of this team, that doesn't have to work as hard because they invested an actual pick in you and nobody wants to be proven wrong. So I'm with you. I hope he does well out there in Vegas, unless we play him. It was just kind of frustrating to see. He did have a lot of talent. He's got the body size. He just had a couple of drops, man, during key moments of drives. that killed us. And it was frustrating to see because we got a bunch of Smurfs out on the field. Cam's got some size to him, and it would have been nice if he could have actually caught on here.
I agree with you on that. And that's what I'm saying. And yes, he did drop the ball at some inopportune times, but a lot of guys did wrong. And maybe they're trying to make right of the wrongs that he may have done and the other guys. And we might see some changes with these releasing of some of these new guys, or not new guys, but some of the older guys. I'm very interested to see how this roster shapes up, after training camp. And I know I'm putting the cart before the horse, but I mean, what else can we look forward to?
Yeah. I mean, new owner and, maybe a new fight song, but that's just me holding out hope because I can't stand the old one. But no, I mean, we don't have a ton right now.
And a new name.
No, thank you. No, thank you. I
don't want to. Hey, I don't want a new name either, man. But so you get these emails and everyone tells you all these text messages or whatever have you. There's a possibility of a new name, and you're like, oh man, I don't think it's going to happen, but you just never know, man.
See, the thing is, go to all those people's timelines on Twitter, and I guarantee you 90% of those people are Red Wolves crowd. It's that whole crowd that's still butthurt that they didn't get the name Red Wolves, and they have their HTTR tattoos, maybe across their knuckles or whatever it is, and they're just salty about that. So they're hoping that it's going to go back or something's going to change. And I hate to break it to our listeners, but it's never going back to Redskins. So stop dreaming on that. There's zero chance, especially if you want this team to come back to DC. But that's over with. If whoever buys it decides to change it, that's a huge investment to try and rebrand again. If we win, people aren't going to give a damn about what the hell this team's name. It does suck that we don't have a nickname, that we don't have a short name, that it's multiple syllables.
I don't know how many times people say the commies.
It drives me crazy, but like
the DERS.
Yeah. Something will naturally come out once we start winning and things change. We'll just like the whole left hand up thing came out of nowhere, out of a song that people made fun of at first, and then it got stuck in your head. So we'll see what happens. I know whatever, if it does change, I'm still going to be there. You're still going to be there, but I'm not buying a bunch of stuff. I'm hoping and praying that they have a trade-in where I can give them old Commanders gear and try and, get some pennies to $1 on that stuff, because it's just going to drive me crazy. And I think they will lose some fans at that point, because now you're talking 4 names in what? 5-6 years? I can't even remember how long it's been.
Yeah.
But
well, one thing's for sure, if and when this new ownership takes place, I have a feeling that the home games will be sold out. I really do. There are a lot of people who are itching, and I told JP Finley this, they're itching to get back to FedEx Field, even though it's a dump and everything that you may want to say about it. A new ownership comes, and people who have been wanting to spend money on the product will come back because they just didn't want to spend a dime under Dan.
Yeah, they just didn't want to give Dan money, and I get that. And being filled, to me, is going to be tough. Like that first game last year, that Jaguars game was full. And I remember the Sports Junkies, it's a station here in the DC area, guys are legends, talking about it. And I called in and talked to the guys, and they asked how it was in the lots and the stands. I said, that's how it was this game. But I guarantee you the next couple of games, it's going to drop drastically. To me, it's like a movie on opening day. And it gets all that hype and people go, but then the week after that, you see the box office numbers just drop and drop and drop. At a certain point, those fans that want to be there, just because DC is it's a town where you've got a bunch of front runners and people that just want to be places. I was at the Caps game last night. They honored Alex Ovechkin for having 802 goals. Hardest ticket
Nice.
to get in town, right? Place was packed. They had lines down the street with everyone just trying to get in because they were giving away bobbleheads, everything else.
No
I
kidding.
guarantee a majority of those fans have not been to games this year. They just wanted to go because the Caps were hyping it up. Right?
Okay.
I'm going to opening day Nats baseball next Thursday. If any of our
Mhm.
listeners are going, hit me up. I go to opening day every year for the past, however long since they've been back in DC. But after that, that stadium is going to be empty. And I feel that that's going to kind of be the same thing with new ownership coming on board to a degree, because people aren't just going to throw money down if we're not winning.
That's the key. That's the key. Well, Ted, I gotta tell you, bro, that's true to a degree. And what I mean by that is, yes, people just necessarily won't throw money down, but they're gonna be more invested now that he's gone.
They
So
definitely will. They'll follow again.
I'll say about 40%. 40, I'm gonna even maybe say 50%. Just because of the sheer amount of people that we come in contact with and we've talked to and throughout my travels and everything. So yeah, man, they people are ready. So when it happens, we won't be surprised.
No. And, hopefully it gets us some new listeners. I was actually looking at some metrics on the pod. Apparently 65% of our listeners are listening on Apple Podcasts. So I guess everybody's got an iPhone out there. I'm an Android guy. Do me a favor and Rally a favor. Can you guys leave a review on Apple Podcasts for us? Because it helps us out. Because I'm seeing that you guys are listening on Apple. You can't see the screen there, but you guys are listening on Apple. So help us out. But I hear you, man. And, it'll be nice to have some other fans back that have given up on the team. It'll be nice to walk around this city and not get into arguments about the team or not wonder, oh gosh, I'm walking around town the other day going to the Caps game and I had something Commanders on, and just to get asked questions that have nothing to do about football. It'll be nice just to talk football again. And man, I can't wait. But something that came out today, I don't know if you saw this. The Commanders are not renewing the contract with NBC Sports Washington.
Yeah.
So that is dying. It's going to be over. And it was kind of a mutual agreement. And I'm butchering exactly what it was, but Matthew Paris from the Washington Times had an article on it today. And there was a line in the article: the partnership with NBC Sports is set to expire. And NBC Sports Washington was purchased by Monumental Sports that Ted Leonsis owns. Ted Leonsis, for those of our listeners not in the area, owns the Washington Capitals, our hockey team, and the Washington Wizards. Yeah. So inside here, Monumental decided to drop the Commanders after determining the proposed agreement wouldn't have been a profitable deal for the network. So this is according to a source familiar with the negotiations. I don't know.
Does that mean that Julie's show is gone now?
Her show is going to exist, but what's it going to be on? To me, this means that the pregame show with Jordan Giorgio, with JP Finley, with B. Mitch, Santana Moss, the postgame show, that to me means that those guys aren't doing that anymore. And I got to assume they've got contracts with NBC Sports Washington. So I'm concerned as a fan what this means for us. Because I don't watch the Commanders pregame show. I think it's on YouTube. I almost
don't watch it either.
They stream it. I mean, you're at the game, so I know why you don't watch it. But it's not on TV, right? They don't have a radio broadcast ahead of time because, no, that's not true. They have a radio broadcast on Big 100 with Don Geronimo and some other people. But the actual pregame show is not broadcast on TV. So if you want coverage, you go to NBC Sports Washington. I'm sorry, but I've got friends at work over at the team, but I don't go to them for coverage of the team. If I want coverage of the team, I go to NBC Sports Washington on it because I trust what B. Mitch has to say. His paycheck isn't being signed by Snyder. So I'm kind of frustrated about this. I was curious how you felt when that news came out.
Well, As I said, I don't really know much about that because, as you said, I'm at the games. So I'm at the games, and the most that I get is I listen to the telecast on the radio sometimes at games,
Yeah.
but that's not them. So I didn't even know that I would always walk past Julie, Fred, B. Mitch. I would always walk past them while they were in the booths, or on the concourses rather. But obviously, I'm at the game, so I don't
Yeah.
really know who they're talking to.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see who gets the coverage, what channel it's going to be on, if it's going to be on a channel, and how that's going to work. Because, some people, they love all their news from the team. Me personally, as many heads that we have talking about the team to keep it real and honest, in my eyes, the better. Because there's sometimes when and I don't want to name names because I know a bunch of the people over there and I want to piss them off, but someone over there will give a take about a player on our team. Like he did a great job, but completely missed the point of the other 10 bad things he did. And if you're going to call it one way, to me, you got to call it the other. And the last thing we need as a fan base is voices that are honest and true to be silenced. And hey, it's all about money for Leonsis. Same thing for the Commanders.
Yeah.
So I get it. I just hope that, JP Finley, B. Mitch, Pete Haley, like all those guys on NBC that we've watched over the years covering, they still get to cover the team in some kind of capacity. And we still get to digest it as fans.
Yeah. And I think the other thing is, from what you're saying, it sounds like you had a lot of yes man type of people. So call it the way that it is, the good and the bad. And if when you have the yes man, like you said, it doesn't it makes it gives the highlights but doesn't give the lowlights. And
I mean, Larry Michael had these skin tangibles, and I used to do that show with Larry. I was on there every week with him, once a week talking. And it's like, if I'm going to buy a car, like I was at the car dealership today because I had a nail in my tire, right?
Okay.
No. I had a nail in my tire. I cannot afford it. After doing my taxes, I cannot afford anything, let alone a new car. Right?
Okay.
But if I'm looking to buy a car, I'm going to Motor Trend and Car and Driver and like different websites that are unbiased to get the details on this thing. I'm not going to Ford to find out what they think about the car that they made, right? It's like just different stuff like that. And to me, that's how I equate this to. If the team is in charge of the coverage, then I will listen to it, but know in the back of my mind, take it with a grain of salt because there is an agenda to a degree.
Okay.
So
I got you.
To me, the post-game show with B was must listen because there were times when he just let him have it, and rightfully so. But I hope as a fan base, we get something, whether it's fan created, like the guys from Ref the District who stream their actual watches of the game live on YouTube or whatever it may be. I just hope we get something that fills that void where it's not just team coverage, it's other people covering it as well.
Our fingers will be crossed, and we have time. And I think that once we get solidified with new ownership, and we can snake our way through things to find out exactly where we're going to be, so don't panic just yet.
Nah, not panicking, but just, concerned. And the last thing this week that not concerns me, but I wanted to bring up is the Commanders are now just shy of $3 million in cap space. So they did a bunch of signings, brought in a bunch of guys. They still try to bring in a linebacker earlier this week who ended up re-signing with the Browns. So that didn't work out for whatever reason.
Oh, yeah.
But the problem is going into the draft, they need $2.5 million to sign their draft picks. We got 2.9 million. So I'm not holding my breath on us making any more free agent signings unless that means we end up cutting somebody. And I never want to wish for someone to lose their job. And, they've made some cuts, but there are some vets on this roster that I think might be changing their phone number, hoping that they don't get that call for them to say, hey, turn your playbook. You're not going to be here next year. But it's going to be interesting to see.
And I'm with you on that, based upon just how they played last year. Let's be real. Some didn't play as well as they needed to. And you start getting kind of long in the tooth. There's a younger guy ready to take your spot, a younger, cheaper guy. So we're going to see what happens. And we got a lot of time still.
We do. There is a lot of time going on, just from a number perspective. I want us to improve the roster as much as we possibly can. And they save some money by signing Duran to that long-term deal, because his cap number is now, I think, 9 million or 10 million versus 18. So they freed up some space there, which was great, and dropping Carson. But now we still got some holes to fill. We still got a problem at linebacker and some other spots. So are we going to address this through the draft? I guess we'll know in a month and see what happens. But I wanted to close the show out with, did you see Cam Curl's dad, what he put out there this time?
No.
If I'm Cam, I'm sending my dad on an all expense paid cruise to the middle of nowhere so he doesn't have cell phone access. So Cam's dad put this out. Greg Curl tweeted saying, my opinion and my opinion only, but I will find it extremely disappointing and disrespectful if Washington asks 31 to play at the level he plays under a 7th round rookie contract this year. And he just left it at that. And we're on record saying Cam needs to get extended. Do it now. The team typically does not extend players until they're in the final year of their deal. And I get they did that with Terry last year, but I say typically they're not doing that. And Cam, as a 7th round rookie, has not made a ton of money. But what the NFL does with player contracts is he's going to get paid in the last year of his deal. So I think he's set to make $3 million this year. But his dad just keeps sending this stuff out there, man. And I kind of hope for Cam's sake, his pops tones it down a little bit. And I remember him tweeting something about get out my pockets or something like that. I think his dad might need to take a look at that tweet and kind of go from there. But knowing that the Commanders' dollar situation is the way it is, an extension isn't going to hurt them this year from a cap perspective, but it really would be nice for them to try and lock him up now versus him testing the open market next year, because his dad was in his ear saying they don't love you, they don't want you, they didn't extend you.
Well, we also have seen what has happened when parents get into the locker room and how that turned out. So I'm with you. Hey, bro, let the players play. You be a fan and a dad and watch from afar. No doubt about it. We want you to root for your kid, but you can also hurt your kid. So you hurt your kid's potential. So, but hey, man, that's going to do it for this week's edition of DMV Mess Hall. And thank you guys for listening. As Ted said, subscribe, give us a review, good, bad, or indifferent, because we value your feedback. We're not perfect, but we're here for you. Hey, that's going to do it. Rally Captain, Tailgate Ted, you rep it hard or you don't rep it at all. We're out.